Defense for all of their help. They're down at the border with us still, helping us keep that border secure and make sure we know who's coming into this country. You've arrested and brought to justice hundreds of thousands of illegal aliens, of criminals that have perpetuated violence against American people. Sir, you've had 1.6 million people voluntarily go home to their home countries that were here in this country illegally. Because of your strong message and you enforcing the law, they decided to go home on their own so that they could come back the right way someday and be American citizens. But what I think is one of the most remarkable statistics is that under Joe Biden's administration, 88% of new jobs went to foreign-born individuals. Under your administration, 2.5 Americans have jobs today that they didn't under the previous administration. And they have those jobs because you created opportunities. You made this country safe, you opened up the economy, you enforced the law. Now people can get up and provide for their families and go to work every day and be confident in that. And the last thing I would say is that it's incredibly important to know that every one of those illegal aliens that has gone home, they were costing us about $8,700 to $9,000 a piece in what they were taking out of our social programs, out of Social Security. You've saved this country billions of dollars, about $15 billion, just in what those illegal aliens were costing us in social programs. I've cut over 450 different contracts at the Department of Homeland Security. We're getting rid of corrupt ones that were not efficient for taxpayers, weren't focused on our mission of keeping us safe. And we've also renegotiated and brought in our biggest vendors that said you have to do better. And we've saved the taxpayers over $13 billion doing that as well. So we're continuing to be accountable to taxpayer dollars, but sir, focused on doing the mission of what you've committed, and that's to keep us safe and to make sure we put Americans first.
Well, great job, and great job on the border. We had millions and millions of people coming in. To think 3 months in a row, zero.
Incredible.
That's some job. Thank Tom and everybody, and Pete, good job. Not surprised. Thank you very much. Chris, please.
Yes, to Kristi. Sorry about that, Mr. President. Like Secretary Noem, I'm thrilled to be here to work with you on the simple platform you were elected on, which was to bring back the American dream, to bring jobs and opportunity for families across the country and to lower their costs so they can live their lives and expand the choices they have. You led off today talking about gasoline prices. I'll throw in diesel. If you correct for inflation, they're at multi-decade lows. This is a huge expense. This is a huge constraint on people's lives. We should celebrate that. Natural gas has become our main industrial fuel powering factories around the country. Natural gas prices are quite low in this country, and they're lower than in any country in the world. The reason for that is the United States produces 2 times more natural gas than the second largest natural gas producer in the world, and 4 times more natural gas than the number 3 and number 4 producers in the world. So you've opened up American opportunity and energy together with the work of Secretary Burgum, Administrator Zeldin, Secretary Lutnick, Secretary Rollins. You know, we've made it easy to produce energy in America again, and those benefits are flowing. I could go on about this stuff forever, but let me talk about one specific area of energy, electricity. That's in the front of people's minds. When the day you were inaugurated, we get hold of all the data. We can look at the resource plans of utilities across the country. What you inherited when you arrived was a plan over the next 5 years to close 100 gigawatts of reliable electric generation. So that's 100 large power plants. Now that was offset with a plan to build 22 gigawatts of reliable electricity generation. Their plan was to close more than 4 times as much electricity generating capacity as they were going to build in that 5-year period. How do we lead the world in artificial intelligence if we're shrinking our supply of reliable electricity? How do we reshore steel and aluminum and automobiles and semiconductors and all those jobs Americans want back in our country when we're degrading and shrinking our energy system? We were going to hand that leadership to China in artificial intelligence. not just to our economic loss, but to our huge national security loss. Your team around this table, and almost everyone around this table is involved in it, is just to completely pivot dramatically. We're stopping the closure of all these plants way before their retirement date. Some plants get to their end of life. That's a small percent of the planned closures. Most of those were just political nonsense at the cost to American taxpayers. So we have rapid new construction of power plants under in the United States. We're doing everything we can with suppliers who build the equipment for these power plants. They've got to build their factories bigger to build power plants in America. People thought those days were past. We weren't going to build big things in America anymore. We're just going to keep sending it over to Asia and overseas and just buy other people's stuff. Totally nuts economically, totally nuts for national security, and of course crushing for working Americans, particularly Americans that work with their hands. But we are seeing a revitalization of those people, of that optimism. You showed that picture of that plant being built in Arkansas, dozens of those under construction, just in artificial intelligence. But the reshoring of steel, of aluminum, of plastics, of fertilizer, semiconductors. Like this, America's the land of opportunity. How did we get to become this awesome nation? Because we believed in the American dream and we leaned in on it. But the wealthy in our country and the coastal elites that live away from where stuff's actually made, they just lost their way, and politicians just let them have it. Your tireless campaign and your relentless messaging made people realize the American dream isn't dead. It's just been smothered, and we're unsmothering it and setting it loose. God bless your efforts. God bless your assembly of this team around this table. We're bringing the American dream back.
Yeah, thank you, Chris, very much. Great job you're doing. Appreciate it. Lori, please.
Mr. President, everybody here who spoke works at the Department of Labor, clearly, which I love. They have all the correct talking points, but I think that's a testament again that we are all working together every single day. We talk to each other often, and the workforce, the skilled workforce, the education factor, retirees, it's been so important because they all touch the Department of Labor, and I have the opportunity to work with every single one. If you all haven't stopped by the Department of Labor, Mr. President, I invite you to see your big, beautiful face on a banner in front of the Department of Labor, because you are really the transformational president of the American worker, along with the American flag and President Roosevelt, because we're bringing business and labor together. And I was so honored to unveil that yesterday, and everybody is taking note of that. You also mentioned crime, and I think it's been important for my colleagues to recognize that now American workers can return to work and feel safe. That business owners aren't shutting down their businesses because they're afraid they can't protect their workers, and now it's open for business again, and it's starting right here in our nation's capital. Many things have been mentioned about consumer confidence up, unemployment is holding steady, and more than 2 million net jobs for native-born Americans has been key under your leadership. 84% of the workforce and jobs has been produced by the private sector. I think that was the mission of this administration and the Department of Labor. And I will continue to say for a little bit longer, until I heard you today, the One Big Beautiful Bill, because it equals one big beautiful workforce. And Congress passed this legislation. It probably will be the single most important bill that they did sign, because it is protecting our American workforce by expanding Pell Grants and child care and reduction in taxes, so they can keep more of their hard-earned dollars. I am at the Department of Labor announcing $30 million in grants for our skilled workforce, that I have an MOU with Secretary McMahon. I have an MOU with Administrator Loeffler. That's important to share the data points on how important this is. In June, we awarded nearly $84 million in grants for the capacity of what? Registered apprenticeships, an executive order to have 1 million active apprentices across this nation, where we've already registered 185,000 since in the last few months. One of the other things that we have done is the Biden administration's guidance on cryptocurrency, and thanks to you and your leadership on that, we've rolled that back. And of course, we're going to see the 401k, the investors in our alternative assets. That's been key through the Department of Labor to work through. Partnering with our agencies, again, as I mentioned before, is important as we work together. I have visited, I'll be 31 states on my 50-state tour by the end of this month. I'm headed with Secretary Duffy, with the South Korean President Lee today as we move through the shipbuilding. We will do that in Philly, and then I'm off to New England to talk to those states about how important the apprenticeship program is. But while I visited Hexel in Salt Lake City, 100% domestic carbon fiber for the Department of Defense as they produce. They are announcing another $1 billion investment per your executive order on advanced manufacturing. So it is working. Everything that you have been saying since you were elected and since we all can put into play has been working. Ohio, McDonald's is investing 375,000 new jobs. The shrimpers I visited as well, and they need our help in protecting that industry for our American fishermen and shrimpers. In Minnesota, I toured Cambria. When we're talking about quartz countertops, all made in America. And again, in Oregon, where we are expecting a crackdown. Thank you for what you are doing with your agents on ICE, and thank you for the prosecution that I hope you will come to Portland, Oregon, and crack down. But while there are still good people, I was able to visit Buckeye Pacific, really a trading floor for the timber industry. So we still want to focus on great, hardworking American businesses. Mr. President, I couldn't be more excited to ring in Labor Day in Erie, Pennsylvania for the Labor Day Parade. I will be there to welcome it. It is an honor to serve this country. It is an honor to serve under your administration as the Labor Secretary, and we will kick off, and Republicans will own Labor Day again, not Democrats. We will own it because we are, and you are the president of the American worker. So thank you for everything that you've done.
Thank you very much, Lori.
Absolutely.
You're doing a fantastic job, and I will tell you that Lori was recommended by the Teamsters. And I said, that doesn't really work, does it? And it turned out to be one of our best choices. So I just want to thank you and Sean, who, as you know, recommended you very strongly. You really turned out to be a gem. Thank you.
I was able to talk to the president on the phone the other day. He called and we visited, and he said, but I know that you were, you know, a little bit middle of the road and not so sure. I said, Mr. President, I have been a Republican. He's like, what? Wait, what? Now I like you even more. So,
You're doing a great
I
job.
appreciate it.
Thank you, Lori.
Thank you.
Thank you. Pam?
President, I'm working with everyone around this table almost daily on legal issues that we're winning on. But today, because it's Labor Day, President Trump, if I could focus on public safety, not only domestic, but from our foreign adversaries. And Secretary McMahon, I know you know, kids are out of school this weekend. It's Labor Day. And Secretary Duffy, you know, our highways are going to be packed with travelers coming to not only our nation's capital, but all over this country. We're also going to have boaters, Secretary Duffy, right, on our waterways. It is illegal to be under the influence and on a boat. So get a designated boater if you're out on our waterways, whether it's the Potomac or the Gulf of America or the Pacific. Wherever you're out this weekend, people need to be safe. And on an international level, Secretary Rubio, thank you for all your help on everything we're doing, and everyone around this room. But yesterday, there was a big, big win. El Mayo pled guilty, and he was the co-founder of Sinaloa cartel with El Chapo. And there's even a Narcos Netflix series about these guys. Well, now we know the ending. He's going to die in an American prison. They are one of the worst, El Chapo and El Mayo, some of the worst narco traffickers in our world. And he will spend life in prison now. And that's so important because those guys and others throughout this country, throughout this world, have brought into our country drugs, cocaine, heroin, fentanyl, methamphetamines that's killing our kids. And we have to stop that. And that's what you've been doing not only in DC, but around the country at your leadership. And over the weekend, parents need to know, with kids out of school, with people out on our highways and on our waters, do not take a pill from anyone you know, don't know. Do not buy anything on the street. It could be laced with something toxic. We've seen so many fentanyl overdoses. And when you were here in DC, we showed you pictures of some of the drugs that had been seized right here in DC. President, they were packaged for children. Packaged for children. And people are dying from these around our country. So thank you, President Trump, for your leadership and for letting Americans know that it's now a safe place to go. But parents also have to know college kids have to know to be vigilant and not take this trash. Because you could be thinking you're taking a Xanax, an Adderall, anything, and it could be laced with something very lethal. So thank you, President
Great
Trump.
message,
Thank
and
you,
you've been
President.
fantastic this last 12 days in DC. The job you and your whole group has done is,
All of us.
everyone's talking about it all over the world. I hate to have to talk about that, but we have to. It's becoming a very safe place again, and the work, I've seen how hard you worked the last, well, from the beginning in all fairness, but this focus on DC is so important for the country, so great job. And to everybody.
And
Great job.
President, it's a team around. We're all working hand in hand, side by side, all of our agencies together to make America safe and DC safe. And Iris, congratulations on your baby, and I'm so glad that you're safe now.
Thank you, Pam, very much. Great. Mr. VP, would you like to say something?
Yes, sir. I'll be brief, but I want to congratulate you and the entire team on all the things that have been accomplished. You'll hear about a lot of it. You've already heard some of it, but I thought it would be helpful, Mr. President, just to take stock, not just of what we've accomplished, what we will accomplish, but of the mess that we inherited, because I think it makes this first Labor Day a bigger and more special occasion. You heard, I think, Kristi talk about this, that all of the net job growth under the Biden administration had gone to the foreign-born. Now that net job growth is going to American citizens who deserve opportunity in their own country. That's a great accomplishment. You'll hear, I'm sure, Scott talk about the success with tariffs. People forget that we inherited the largest peacetime deficit in the history of the United States of America. And now, because the president is not letting foreign countries take advantage of us, we're collecting hundreds of billions of dollars, trillions of dollars over 10 years in tariffs from countries and companies that were formerly taking advantage of the American people. You heard Pam talk about the public safety and the success that we've had there. I happen to believe that maybe the most sacred thing that we can deliver to American workers is the ability to live safely and comfortably in their own neighborhoods. Public safety is not just something that should belong to the wealthy, it should belong to every working man and woman in the United States of America. And because of the work of this administration, that is happening. And of course, Mr. President, you yourself talked about the inflation mess that we inherited under the Biden administration. Maybe the most striking and even shocking statistic of the Biden administration is that housing costs have gone up by 100% over the 4 years of the Biden administration, literally doubled, making the American dream of homeownership unaffordable. We've made great strides and great progress already, but to the American people who are listening, there's a lot more to do. We're going to keep on working hard at it, but it's an honor to do this job under the president's leadership and with this very great team that you've assembled. So we've done a lot, but there's a lot more work to do, and we're very cognizant of it. Thank you, sir.
Great job. Thank you, JD. Scott?
Sir, as we've said very often, economic security is national security, and our country has never been so secure thanks to you. You have brought us back from the edge. You have the overwhelming mandate from the American people. You're restoring confidence in government, a topic that is on the front of everyone's mind, the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve's independence comes from a political arrangement between itself and the American public. Having the public's trust is the only thing that gives it credibility, and you, sir, are restoring trust to government. You are weeding out the waste, fraud, and abuse, and the old ways of doing things are not good enough. We are seeing a blue-collar boom. In the first 7 months of your administration, real blue-collar wages have taken off. And the only other time that they've done this in the past 70 years was in your previous term. Your efforts on tax, trade, and deregulation have boosted paychecks for American workers while slowing the pace of inflation and lowering the cost of energy. Inflation has plummeted to just 1.9% since you took office, and the economy rebounded with real GDP surging 3% last quarter. The blue-collar boom coincides with a CapEx comeback. In anticipation of your one big beautiful bill becoming law, CapEx increased by American businesses by nearly 14% in the first half of this year. And as you and I talk about frequently, and as that chart or that photo attests, we are going to see, I believe, a bigger CapEx boom from here. This is just the beginning, just the beginning. You have saved this country by making it the best place in the world to do business again. Treasury is helping to implement these new provisions, as well as no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on Social Security. This weekend, I will be meeting with workers from local restaurants to discuss the positive impacts of the pro-labor reforms on no tax on tips. And I have to tell you, thanks to you, when I go into a restaurant or stop by a hotel doorman, I am the most popular person there. And since my first job at age 9 was as a busboy getting tips, I am going to spend Labor Day going from restaurant to restaurant talking to workers who receive substantial amount of tip income. So I'll hear directly from them how your one big beautiful bill is increasing their take-home pay and making a big difference. Now, we can also talk, that is domestic. On the international front, you have leveled the international trading system whereby countries took advantage of us, and that's over. It's over. The Treasury Department is taking in record tariff revenues that I had been saying was running at a rate of $300 billion a year. You chastised me for saying that it's not, that number is too low. And as usual, you're right, that we had a substantial jump from July to August. And I think we're going to see a bigger jump from August to September. So I think we could be on our way well over $500 billion, maybe towards the $1 trillion number. This administration, your administration, has made a meaningful dent in the budget deficit. The average budget deficit during this term is 26% less than the last 12 months under Biden. And even the CBO, and we don't agree with CBO on everything, as you said, last Friday, on a summer Friday, had to admit that they believe over the next 10 years, the budget deficit will be $4 trillion lower than they had previously scored. $4 trillion, 3.3 trillion of tariff income, 700 billion of lower interest cost, and I would expect that that number could go up from here. So, Mr. President, your return to the White House marked the return of the American worker. Thank you for reclaiming Labor Day for the American people. You're growing the economy for everyone, especially the middle and lower income households who suffered disproportionately under the last administration, and it's an honor to do this under your leadership.
Great job. You're doing great. Thank you very much, Scott. Brooke?
Sir, I dropped my second son off at college last week. And I wasn't planning to say this, but just listening to everybody, I wanted to put a little bit of a personal touch on this work. He started his freshman year yesterday at Texas A&M, for all my SEC friends in the room. Thank you for saving college football, by the way. We're all very grateful. The country just feels different. It just feels different. There's such a optimism and a love. There's a faith movement going through, especially with our younger Americans. And for those of us with kids in college, I know we feel it. And I experienced it firsthand last week, moving him and my other older son in as well. As we move toward Labor Day, you have made a lot of dreams come true for a lot of people, but one of my longtime dreams was for the right to recapture Labor Day. And I've been talking about this for almost 20 years and writing about it, that why are we ceding the day that we are celebrating the American worker to the Democrats? Because this is our day. Perhaps of any day of the entire year, this is our day. America was founded and fought for by fishermen and farmers and workmen and et cetera. The Genesis, the first book of the Bible, talks about the righteousness of work and the art of creation. And so to be part of this effort to represent the farmers, the ranchers, the agriculture industry at this moment in time, which I do believe we're in a revolution. 1776 was the first one, 1863 or so with Abraham Lincoln was the second. This is the third with Donald Trump leading the way. And we are saving America. And the idea that we are putting the worker the very central component of the American dream at the center of it is the reason that it is so. So at USDA, it continues to be my greatest honor to fight for the original American worker, whom I think the farmer is and what they represent. And as we are building new systems and new structures, as we have this year going to have the best harvest on record for our row croppers and others, what this team has done and is doing to open up those markets to ensure that these farmers can continue to return prosperity to rural America. I'll finish with this. This morning, we had a working group with 6 of our cabinet members. Bobby Kennedy representing healthcare, Linda McMahon education, Lee Zeldin deregulation, Kelly Loeffler small business, Lori Chavez Rimmer labor, and Scotty Turner housing. And how you leading the way in your vision, how that will return the golden age to rural America, to the very fabric of our country. And whether it's better hospitals, better education, more opportunity, less government, better and bigger small businesses, better opportunities for our workers, and better housing, and of course the agriculture piece of that, through the big beautiful bill, the bill, what it did, the greatest investment in rural America in history. And now the opportunity to effectuate that is again a game changer, a country saver, and what a joy to be able to do it under your leadership. So thank you, sir.
Really good, thank you. Beautifully stated, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Scott?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. President. I'm so grateful to be here to celebrate Labor Day with the greatest team in America. And it is football season, so I'm happy about that. But Mr. President, I want to say thank you for, as Brooke said, reclaiming Labor Day. And you've been a tremendous champion for the American worker. I come from a hard-working family, as many people around this table do. And so thank you for helping us to change the conversation. And I believe we are changing the conversation around the kitchen table. And as everybody knows, you know, my job is to steward HUD. And we have at HUD been very intentional about changing the conversation about the dignity of work and the dignity and the honor of family formation through work. And how the younger generation, when they see their parents work, how they're incentivized to work. And that, you know, America is not a welfare state, but America was built on small business. It was built on entrepreneurship. And so as it pertains to housing, we're being very focused on that, and even some that receive HUD funding to make sure, like our Section 3, when you receive HUD funding, that you are given opportunities for the most vulnerable Americans that you serve to have work, to have opportunities to work, to have work requirements. Work requirements are not a bad word, that's a great word. Time limits is a great word to incentivize people, able-bodied, able-minded people to work. And I believe that we are, under your leadership, sir, changing that conversation in America to where working is an honorable thing. And Secretary Wright talked about revitalization. Revitalization means to bring new life. And I believe we're bringing new life to America, Mr. President, through work and through all the jobs that people are doing around this table. And with the One Big Beautiful Bill, the most extensive tax break in American history, opportunity zones are now made permanent. And you know how passionate I am, and you are too, sir, about opportunity zones. And so this will allow us to continue to build affordable housing around our country. And Mr. Vice President, I'm coming your way. I'm coming to Columbus later this week and to see how we can continue to build affordable housing in our country with opportunity zones. And you know, 1 million people, Mr. President, were lifted out of poverty because of opportunity zones. $90 billion of private money was invested in opportunity zones, urban, tribal, and rural. And now that they've been made permanent, we're looking for millions more to be lifted out of poverty, $100 billion to be invested, hundreds of thousands of jobs to be created, hundreds of thousands of units of housing to come online. And so, sir, I sit here very excited about the future of this country. I'm very proud to be at this table, humbled to do so. And HUD, we're on a good path. So thank you for all your support and helping us, sir.
Thank you very much.
God bless you.
And I want to give credit to Tim Scott, great senator from a place called South Carolina that we love, right? And Tim really came up with opportunity zones, and we did a good job of working with them, and together we created something that nobody speaks of very much, but it's probably the most successful thing that's ever been done of its kind. It's been amazing. So Tim Scott deserves a lot of credit for that. Thank you.
Thank you.
So Russell, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President, and I get the opportunity to go hand by hand with all of these people as they move their deregs through the Office of Management and Budget. And I wanted to zoom out for a second. In the first term, you gave us a goal of 2 for 1. And then we outperformed it through your leadership. We came in at around 5.5, 6 for 1. And then as you're running for your second term, you put out a goal that when you put it out, I was thinking to myself, that's going to be a pretty ambitious goal. You said 10 for 1. Well, where we are right now, in just 1 month, in 1 year, basically 8 months, we are at 245 deregulatory initiatives planned by these agencies. That comes out to 30 for 1. So we are making incredible strides, and you know, as you're focused on the details of each one, I mean, these aren't small things. Endangerment finding is one of the most deregulatory things we've in the history of this country. NEPA reform, incredibly deregulatory. WOTUS just came in, which is Waters of the United States. So every single one of these agencies is doing incredible work when it comes to deregulatory, and when you add that to the work being done to get us going on energy, reduce spending, we're going to lower costs for the American people, we're going to be able to have innovative jobs and get them back to work. So thank you for your leadership, Mr. President.
Thank you. Great job, Russell. Appreciate it. John, central casting, I call him. He's central.
Well, Mr. President, I'm grateful to be with everyone today, and as we're talking about jobs and workforce at CIA, consistent